Hello and welcome back to the McDuffie Minute Podcast, where we bring McDuffie County residents everything they need to know about the governments of McDuffie County, Thompson, Deering, the school system, and all points between. I'm one of your hosts, Christopher Wells.
And I'm Jason Smith. As many of you know, we are one of the handfuls of communities across the state that benefit from a unique relationship with the University of Georgia. The Archway Partnership has been an integral part of our community for several years now, and we recently got a new director, Sarah Adams. Today she joins us to introduce herself to the community and let us know a little bit more about what's happening behind the scenes with Archway and where we're going. Miss Adams, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So for those of us involved with local government and with Archway, and Sam Perrin was the guy that came in and started it, and Sam is very on top of things, very energetic, and I know I've been here a year now, and there's not a lot that Archway hasn't been involved with and that Sam wasn't present for. And now Sam has moved on in his career. He's taken on the reins of operations coordinator in Athens. He's moved to Athens, overseeing several communities. He'll be overseeing our community, so he'll still be involved around here, but you're here on a day-to-day basis. And tell us what that means. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got to here.
Sure. Well, I was born and raised in Athens and got both degrees at the university. My background is in public health, so that's something I'm very passionate about. I was in South Georgia until very recently for about 8 years, serving with the College of Public Health to fulfill a workplace wellness grant. And as that grant position closed, Archway opened. And so that's how I learned about Archway. And I served as the Moultrie-Colquitt County Archway professional for 5 years. And of course, when Sam got his promotion, this position here opened up in Thompson, McDuffie. And I really loved Moultrie and Colquitt County, but the call to come home closer to my parents was very sweet. So I was excited to apply, and I'm very excited to be here in Thompson.
All right. So for our listeners who might not be familiar with the Archway program, because we may have people who are listening that may be hearing this for the first time, can you fill them in on what it is in general, and then more specifically what the program is doing right here in our county?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I had no idea what Archway was before I even learned about the position. So Archway is one of 8 units under the Public Service and Outreach Division at the University of Georgia. And what Archway does is it brings resources from campus out further into the state of Georgia. It's part of the land grant mission of the university to serve the entire state, not just where campus is located. So I got some really good practice being originally 4 hours away from Athens and now right here in Thompson, McDuffie. I work with a local executive committee. So it's a group made up of local leaders from different sectors. It could be government, nonprofit, faith-based organizations, you have it. And they tell me what areas they want to improve in the community. And so right here in Thompson, some of those issues are health and wellness, leadership, education and workforce, and community development. So I have a broad spectrum of things to plug in and help my community develop and support. And once I learn what those priorities are, my job is then to go out into the community, meet and greet with people, get to learn where people are working, what they're doing, who should be talking that maybe isn't talking to address these specific areas. And those groups start to become meeting more regularly, and they're called issue work groups. So I answer directly to my exec committee, but I also work with these issue work groups in the meantime to develop the community. A really cool part about Archway, and one of my favorite parts, is that we get to plug in students directly from campus, working on graduate degrees across all different colleges that the university provides. So you could have landscape architecture, engineering, College of Pharmacy, College of Veterinary Services. I mean, we have a wide array of talented students that we can plug into real life problems in the community. And these are opportunities that you just can't learn from a textbook. And so I'm excited to work with bright-eyed students every semester. Some projects are just, 3 or 4 months long in a semester. Some are a year or even 2 years. And Thompson has taken full advantage of all of those.
We'll get to some of those projects in a minute, but tell us a little bit about the differences between Colquitt and here in the role you're in. I know you've been in a month, but the differences in the program, how that role's a little different, how that transition's going.
The role that I'm fulfilling is called Archway Professional. So if you want to think about it from a structural standpoint, I'm kind of at the bottom of the totem pole, but I think it's the most fun place because I get to be boots on the ground for the university. I'm engaging with community members every day. Every day is different. And then I get to reach up to my operations coordinator, who's Sam, and he's sort of like my liaison between the community and the Athens resources. So he gets to stay in touch with students and faculty and other organizations that may be able to support the work happening here on the ground in Thompson McDuffie. So my role is more central. I'm here in Thompson every single day, Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. So my role is very similar between Moultrie and Thompson. I fulfill the exact same role. I'm just simply living in a different place.
So are there programs that you've seen in Moultrie that you think will be a good fit here at some point?
Definitely. Something that we enjoy using in Archway is the R&D tactic of rip off and duplicate. We don't like to reinvent the wheel, and I think it expedites a lot of communities in making progress when we know of a program or a structure that works well in another community. We can try that in other communities, especially since a lot of our different counties are working on the same problems. So I worked on health and wellness in Colquitt County. I worked on leadership in Colquitt County. Youth development could apply to workforce development here. So there are a lot of really neat things that I've been involved with that I can't wait to share here.
Very cool.
I know that you mentioned prior to coming on board with Archway that you were involved in public health sector. Because of your experience with that, are there any projects in the works here in McDuffie County in that arena?
Yeah, so I actually had the privilege to come up to McDuffie several different times over the last couple of years, even while I was living in South Georgia, to help Sam with his health and wellness issue work group. And the unique thing about health and wellness initiatives is when you talk about health, what does that mean? That means so many different things to different people. And as a public health specialist, I enjoy education. I enjoy connecting with people. For several years, I was a health and wellness coach for the university. So it's neat to see what people want to work on because you can impact any area of health in so many different ways. So right now, one of the bigger partnerships that we have going on is with the Care Center. That stands for Cognitive Aging Research and Education at the College of Public Health. So it's right from my very own wheelhouse. Dr. Lisa Renzi Hammond and Dr. Janae Beer have gotten in touch with stakeholders here in Thompson, and they are working on awareness, education, and support for residents that are learning what it means to think and remember as we age, because God willing, we're all going to age. And we are a product of our own success, as Dr. Lisa puts it. So she's saying we're living longer. You know, we've got great medical advancements. We're learning how to take care of ourselves. And as a result, we're experiencing more and more age-related illness. And so what does that mean? How do we combat these illnesses and get a good quality of life? So that's one of the bigger partnerships we have going on right now. And we actually have a meeting coming up on September 13th. It's the CARE meeting. So if you have heard about that or have any interest, please feel free to reach out to me. I'd love to plug you in and get you connected.
So we talk about Archway in terms of projects and that sort of thing, and we still need to talk about some of those, but do you have a number financially that has been a local impact for Archway or throughout the state?
I know specifically, because I peeked at a cheat sheet before I walked over here, for Thompson McDuffie specifically, the return on investment for community dollars since 2018 until the end of fiscal year this past year was $4.8 million. A community that has the Archway Partnership will put in a certain amount of money. For Colquitt County, that was $60,000, and that's not the Archway professional salary. Most of that money actually goes to our graduate students to pay their master's degree or their tuition stipend. So their degree is paid. It pays for faculty. It pays for resources, travel between the university resources. And for every dollar the community puts toward the Archway Partnership, the Public Service and Outreach Division will match $2. So let's say if your community puts up $60,000, you will receive another $120,000, creating a pool of $180,000 for your community. So that goes toward project implementations when you get designs from students. It goes toward, resources, structure, whatever is needed to put that plan in motion is what those funds can be used for.
So I know that number also doesn't include Archway was one of the driving forces behind the planning of the new park downtown.
Yes.
And so, we recently received a $2.2 million grant for that. So you can add 2.2 to that number on top. And, it's things like that I don't think people realize is, what that does is we brought a team of students in who looked at this concept that we had and were able to take and draw out rough plans. And that saves us a ton of engineering costs. There's still engineering costs on the back end, but it saves us a ton of front end engineering costs so that we don't, have to pay those people, the engineers, to do that front end thinking. They're taking a plan and usually just tweaking it so it can get ready to be bid out. Another example is we're going to be doing some landscaping work around our senior center. And we used a landscape design student to come in and completely redo that plan. All we've got to do now is get the plants and get them put in.
That's right.
Another project we had is, the old high school downtown, which will always be the old high school to me, across from the Brickyard. That property is split in ownership between the county and the school system. Emma Rhodes, who's the daughter of our school superintendent, is a student at Georgia, and she came in and did a complete plan for the parking lots, the landscaping around the buildings, and even some new parking areas for when we are doing some renovations to turn one of those buildings into our elections headquarters. So those kind of things are wonderful for us, these smaller communities that don't have the resources to reach out. I can go on for days on stuff just in the year that I've been here, like with the animal shelter. We've got a direct connection to the Department of Veterinary Medicine that started a shelter medicine program. We're hoping to touch base with them on telemedicine.
I was also thinking about the flooding issue on First Avenue that students engineered a solution to that.
That's right. And so, that was Senator Ossoff coming to town. In fact, the whole reason I'm here in the role that I'm in traces back to the original Archway study, where one of the overarching issues that people said they had in the community was lack of communication. So that's one of the reasons I'm here. So, the long-term impact of Archway, I think, is one thing that's going to be felt in this community for years and years, and we're thrilled to have you here. That's also touching on the RSVP program. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Because I'm even unclear on it, to be honest.
Sure. No, there are a lot of moving pieces to that project. And that was one of the big challenges when I first got installed in this role was, Sam cast a big shadow. That was a huge project. And RSVP stands for Renaissance Strategic Vision and Planning Program. It was spearheaded by one of our sister programs in PSO, the Carl Vinson Institute of Government. There was a three-pronged approach. There was Vinson, the Georgia Municipalities Association, and the there was a cities association. Of course, I would name them and forget. It was a three-pronged approach. And what it essentially was a year-long process of meeting with as many people in the community as possible, people from different sectors. So you wanted students, you wanted parents, you wanted community leaders, nonprofit, government, everyone involved and having something to do with Thompson McDuffie you wanted to hear from. And it's just what it sounded like. You wanted a strategy for how to achieve the vision of what you want your community to become. And so what a lot of that led to was a plan for how to develop a lot of the downtown spaces. So what sort of organizations do people want to see? What services exist? What needs to be enhanced? What are we missing downtown? And so I have had a lot of fun reading about the vision that our residents and our leaders came up with. And one of the bigger projects that you mentioned, the $2.2 million grant, is going to support the construction of a local park right here. And I'm selfishly excited because I have a 3-year-old that's going to have a blast when that thing is finished. So you're going to have a splash park, a dog park, a little amphitheater for concerts. And all of that was put together from the voices of people that live here and saw the opportunity. So it was just a big planning process with people who finally had a platform to put their thoughts on paper.
That's one thing that Chris and I both, when we came into the roles we're in, we came in shortly right at the same time almost. And that was one of the things that we both talked about when we came in was, the need for people to feel more involved. That's one of the reasons this podcast exists.
Right.
And we're always looking for ways to do that. To that end, if somebody does want to become more involved in Archway, how do they find you? How do they track you down?
Please find me. I enjoy meeting people. Email, phone call, text, whatever you're comfortable with. My phone number is 229-921-3170. And my email is sadams, for Sarah Adams, 1234@uga.edu. And you just tell me who you are. Tell me what interests you, what you've heard of that you may want to get involved with, or just say, hey, I have a passion for this. Is there a place for me? Mm-hmm. And if I don't know, then I know someone around here will know where you can get plugged in, because we like when people get connected and work together.
Sure. I know from being on various committees with Archway that, we've got pocket garden projects coming up. We've got a bunch of little architecture things here and there, some animal services stuff, all these little projects that are coming up that, we really want the input from the community. And, it's always great to see new faces involved.
Absolutely.
Is there a way people can maybe go online and look at the different things that are going on, or?
We have an Archway website, and it's actually organized by community. So if you're interested to see some things that have happened in the past, or maybe who are some of the leadership involved now, you can check out archwaypartnership.uga.edu. Just click on it. You can look for McDuffie and check it out. The other cool thing is you can look at what's going on in other communities and make a recommendation to bring those things to McDuffie. Nothing's off the table.
Perfect. Thank you.
And I'd suggest if somebody is really interested in what's going on, I think the core committee we have is the Community Development Committee. That's kind of where all these projects flow through, and you can reach out to Sarah and find out when those are and come just sit and join us for a little while.
Yeah, second Thursdays at the depot from 10 to 11.
Theoretically 11.
Theoretically. When we have good conversation, we don't want to stop.
That's right. This week, for example, when you talk about things that could happen, and this week we had a long conversation with Georgia Power about adding electric vehicle charging stations around the community. There are things like that don't really pop in your head very often. When they do, you're like, oh yeah, we need to do that. So, we're working on that, and I'm excited about some of the things on the horizon coming through Archway. And as RSVP becomes more of an active program, excited about some of the things in those programs. We've already put some of those in. Some of the murals downtown were part of RSVP. And there's a whole little book that's available if somebody wants to see it. So we got big things ahead. Well, Sarah, thank you for being here today and coming on the podcast and sharing this information about Archway with us. As we move on, I'm sure there's more information that'll come out, and I'm thrilled to have access to UGA and Archway and all the resources that come with that. Is there any other message you want to leave with some of the residents in the community who may have some interest sparked here?
Absolutely. Something I really enjoyed seeing when I lived in Colquitt County was parents that had students that were either involved with UGA or going to school at UGA, and they may never have heard about Archway like I didn't before I started. So if you have a student at the University of Georgia and they are interested in any kind of work, doesn't matter where their particular college is, like I said, we hire students from all sorts of talents. Tell them to apply for the Archway Partnership, because we can get them, if they're hired, we can get them connected to real world communities, real world problems, and it is a gold star on a resume. And we love being able to share students coming back into their home communities to make a real impact. So that's a big point of pride for us. So if you have a student, tell them about the Archway Partnership, tell them to reach out to me, and I'd love to share more.
You mentioned local students. We mentioned Emma earlier, but I can tell you from a diverse background perspective, when we were we're in the process of working on a marketing campaign for pet education, public education through the shelter. That's one of the services we want to add on the back end for the shelter, is becoming more of an animal services bureau that actually does pet owner education and adoption, education about the proper adoption process, the whole 9 yards. But we had a group of students come in to sit down with us, and I expected maybe a couple of marketing students, but it was 8 or 9 students, and there was a business administration, there was a couple of marketing, an international affairs, one public relations. It was great to see all these diverse backgrounds come in because they were bringing in ideas that, my marketing, public relations, all that kind of background, they were thinking of things that I don't think of. So, any student that you mentioned, any student that could be involved, don't think that because you're in some outlier degree program that we can't use you. We'll figure out how to use you if you're interested.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much to our listeners for logging on and tuning in today. As always, we hope to continue to find ways to get you involved with all the great things happening here in McDuffie County. By doing so, you can help make your community a reflection of you.
And that's a wrap on this second episode of Season 2 of McDuffie Minute. When you get a chance, take a minute and learn a little bit about McDuffie County.